The company retreat turned into a nightmare when my boss made a game out of lying. I work for one of those tech companies that tries way too hard to feel cool. Open office layout, beanbag chairs, unlimited LaCroix, and a Slack channel just for dog photos. You get the vibe. So when they announced we'd be doing a weekend-long company retreat at a remote team-building lodge, I already knew two things. There would be icebreakers. I would regret every moment of it. I was only partially right. We arrived Friday afternoon, 50 of us, all crammed onto a charter bus that smelled like cold brew and vague ambition. The lodge was nestled in the woods, and by rustic, they meant no signal and communal bathrooms. I was already mentally drafting my resignation letter. Then came the welcome session. Our CEO, Mark, who wears Allbirds and says things like "let's circle back" unironically, stood in front of the fireplace with this unnervingly chipper smile and said, "Welcome to our Truth and Trust weekend." Ugh. He kept going, "This weekend, you'll be paired up in teams and assigned challenges. These are designed to test your communication, build emotional resilience, and most importantly, bring out the real you." Still just sounded like corporate come-by garbage, until he dropped the twist. "Oh, and one more thing. One of you," he said, sweeping the room with his eyes, "has been privately selected as a liar. Their job is to sabotage. To deceive. To sow just enough doubt to test your instincts." We laughed. He didn't. I'm serious. At the end of the retreat, we'll vote. If the team correctly identifies the liar, you all win a bonus. But if the liar remains undetected, he smiled wider, only they win. There was a moment of weird silence. Nervous glances. Then, applause. Someone cheered. I just sat there thinking, this is going to get real messy, real fast. And oh boy. I had no idea how bad it was going to get. You ever look at your coworkers and suddenly realize you know nothing about them? That's what happened the moment Mark announced there was a secret liar among us. I looked around the room, people I've sat next to for months, shared takeout with, vented to after long meetings, and suddenly everyone looked suspicious. The retreat games started immediately after dinner. We were split into small groups and given a series of tasks. Team-building stuff, like escape room puzzles, logic games, and those weird build-a-tower using only marshmallows and spaghetti things. Except now, someone in each group was supposed to be secretly trying to screw everything up. I got paired with 4 people. James from IT, quiet, dry sense of humor, always has gum. Becca from HR, bubbly but sharp. Mason from marketing, human Red Bull. And Lena from finance, who I've maybe said 6 words to before this trip. We started off okay. Got through the first challenge, a human not thing painful in more ways than one, but something felt off. During a logic puzzle where we had to crack a 5-digit code, someone kept subtly nudging us in the wrong direction. I couldn't tell who. Every time we got close to the right answer, someone would say, "Wait, no, what if we try this instead?" and it'd be a total dead end. Then there was the trust fall exercise. Yes, they actually made us do that cliché. Mason accidentally dropped Becca. He laughed it off, said she weighed less than he expected. Everyone chuckled. Becca didn't. Later, James whispered to me, "You think Mason's the liar?" I shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe you're trying to throw me off. He just smiled and walked away. I didn't like that. By the end of the night, everyone was side-eyeing each other. People started getting paranoid, little cliques forming, weird whispered theories. Becca actually made a handwritten list ranking everyone in our group from least sus to probably a psychopath. I was second from the bottom. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the bunk beds or the mosquito situation, but because I couldn't stop replaying everything. Every slip. Every weird pause. Every time someone forgot a rule or misread a clue. Mark had said the liar would be incentivized to make us doubt each other. And it was working. The scariest part? I wasn't even sure I trusted myself. The next morning, we were all served breakfast like nothing weird was going on, scrambled eggs, watery coffee, and enough tension to cut through steel. No one was talking about the game out loud, but it was everywhere in the silences. In the sideways glances. In the way Becca suddenly stopped laughing at Mason's jokes. In how Lena kept volunteering for every single challenge, like she had something to prove or something to hide. The challenge for the day was called the Trust Trail. I know it sounds like something your 5th grade science camp would throw together. But it was actually a full-on outdoor obstacle course in the woods. Blindfolded walking, guiding your partner through a maze, that sort of thing. Mark explained it like this. One of you will be blindfolded. The other guides you. You must rely entirely on your partner's voice. Unless, you don't trust them. It was like he was daring us to start breaking. I got paired with Lena. Of course. She handed me the blindfold and said, "You trust me, right?" And I said, "Not even a little." We both laughed, but hers sounded tight. The walk started fine. She told me where to step, when to duck, how to navigate a weird log bridge. But then we got to this section where the trail dipped down sharply. She hesitated. "Step left," she said. I did. "Wait, no, right." I corrected. My foot slid. I didn't fall, but it was close. I froze mid-step. "Lena," I said. "What the hell?" I got turned around. "Sorry." But the hesitation. The sudden switch. The way she didn't sound sorry at all. When we finished the course, I saw Becca limping slightly. Apparently Mason had walked her straight into a thorn bush. He said left and then yanked me right, she snapped, voice sharp. That's when everything started unraveling. After dinner, someone slipped a folded piece of paper under my cabin door. No name. No handwriting I recognized. Just one sentence. "The liar knows you're watching." That's it. No context. No signature. I immediately went to James, he's my closest co-worker, and honestly the only one who hadn't made some suspicious move yet. I showed him the note. He read it. Looked up at me. And said, "Then you're already in trouble." After James read the note and dropped that ominous little gem. "Then you're already in trouble." I just kind of stared at him. "Are you messing with me?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just handed the note back and walked out of the cabin like some kind of cryptic video game NPC. Cool. Totally fine. Not spiraling at all. I barely slept that night. Every creak outside sounded like someone sneaking around. Every shadow looked like a person. At one point I thought I saw a figure standing near the fire pit, until I realized it was just one of those rustic carved bear statues. Thanks, Lodge Decor. The next day was called Consequence Day. I'm not kidding. That's what Mark called it. He actually stood in front of us with a coffee mug that said #LeadWithIntegrity and said, "Today's theme is consequence. For action. For inaction. For misplaced trust." Honestly, I think he's been waiting his whole life to run a social experiment like this. The challenge that morning was a group voting game. Everyone was given a notepad. We were supposed to write the name of someone in our group we suspected of being the liar. Here's the twist: whoever got the most votes would be removed from the next 2 challenges. Meaning? No way to earn points, no way to win. No way to defend yourself. I stared at the blank notepad for way too long. Becca wrote something down instantly. Lena hesitated. James didn't write anything for a full 5 minutes. Mason smirked the entire time. When the results were read, it hit like a grenade. My name. "What the hell?" I blurted. Mark just nodded calmly. Interesting choice. I looked around the room, no one would meet my eyes. No one said anything. But I knew. Someone had turned them against me. I cornered Becca afterward. "You voted for me?" She wouldn't even deny it. "I thought it might be you." "You're asking a lot of questions. You're in everyone's business." You've been acting sketchy since day one. Because I'm trying to figure out who's lying. I said. Exactly, she said, her voice flat. That's exactly what the liar would say. I walked away from that conversation with a pit in my stomach. The worst part? I wasn't even sure I could prove I wasn't the liar anymore. They'd isolated me. And I think whoever the liar is, they're winning. Being voted out of a game you're not even playing wrong hits different. They didn't physically remove me or anything, just slapped a big metaphorical do not trust sticker on my back. I wasn't allowed to participate in the next two challenges, so while everyone else was off team building, I got to sit alone in the lodge with a lukewarm cup of coffee and the sound of distant group cheering echoing through the trees. Honestly? It sucked. By lunch, the dynamic had shifted. Nobody made eye contact. People who used to joke with me in meetings now barely acknowledged me. I even heard Mason mutter to someone, classic misdirection. He wants us to think he's not the liar. So now I was both guilty and manipulative, apparently. Cool. Then, after dinner, Lena approached me. She sat across from me in the lounge, looked around like we were being watched, we probably were, and leaned in. I didn't vote for you, she said quietly. I blinked. Thanks. That makes two of us. I think I know who did, she added. But if I tell you, I become a target too. So you're telling me that you know something, but you're also still not gonna help me? She smiled apologetically and stood up. Welcome to the game. This is when things went from annoying to unsettling. Later that night, I found another note. Slipped under my cabin door, again. Same handwriting. But this one just said. It's not about the truth. It's about the story they believe. I sat there staring at it, reading it over and over until the words lost meaning. Because they were right. This retreat wasn't about who was lying. It was about who looked like they were. Who could craft the right image? Who could plant enough doubt to infect the group like a virus? And someone, whoever the real liar was, they were playing this game like a symphony. That night I dreamed I was back in the office, sitting at my desk, surrounded by my coworkers. Except they all had blank faces. No eyes. No mouths. Just hands, pointing at me. When I woke up, I decided something. If they thought I was the liar, fine. Then maybe it was time to play like one. I'm not proud of what I did next. Okay, maybe I'm a little proud. But mostly, I was just tired of being the punching bag while someone else puppeteered the group into thinking I was the problem. So I made a decision, if I couldn't clear my name, I'd muddy everyone else's. I started small. Strategic comments. Quiet, easy to miss observations. Hey, did you notice Mason never gets voted for anything? I think I saw Lena slip her phone out when we're supposed to be tech-free. Becca's been really quiet since that puzzle challenge. Almost like she doesn't want to mess up, again. Nothing direct. Nothing that could be traced back. Just little drips of doubt. The same poison I'd been drinking all weekend, I poured it back into the well. And people started listening. By the next morning, the vibe had shifted again. There were hushed conversations happening in corners. Groups splitting off. Suspicion bouncing from one person to another like a cursed game of hot potato. Then Mark, the CEO ringmaster, called us into the lodge for a reflection session. Let's talk about behavior, he said, smiling like a guy who definitely owns a gong. What are we noticing? What are we learning? People started airing grievances like a live-action Reddit thread. Mason accused Becca of manipulating votes. Becca accused Lena of disappearing for long stretches. Lena straight up said she saw James reading the challenge notes in advance, something that, if true, meant he had help from someone above. I just sat there quietly, sipping tea, watching the flames rise. Mark clapped his hands once. Fascinating, isn't it? How quickly trust dissolves. How easily suspicion spreads. He paused dramatically, then added. And remember, the liar wants this. Afterward, James cornered me near the cabin deck. You stirred the pot, he said, eyes narrowed. I know you did. Why would I do that? I said. You already think I'm the liar, remember? You're either a really good actor, he said, stepping closer, or you're getting dangerously close to the truth. And then he smiled. I don't know why, but it chilled me. Like he knew something I didn't. Like maybe he was the one pulling strings the whole time. I started wondering. What if I was being played from the beginning? What if all of this, the notes, the votes, the paranoia, wasn't just part of the game, but targeted? What if I was the real challenge? By the time we hit the last day of the retreat, the energy had completely curdled. Gone were the smiles, the awkward laughter, the clinking of enamel mugs filled with team-bonding cocoa. People were walking in tight little clusters, speaking in hushed tones, side-eyeing each other like a bad poker night on speed. Every joke had sharp edges. Every glance had weight. And I had this sinking feeling in my chest like I'd missed something big. Something important. It all snapped into focus when Mark gathered us in the main lodge one last time. Final challenge, he said, with that same calm, smug tone he'd had since day one. You've all worked hard. You've all questioned each other. But now, it's time for the reveal. He pulled out a white envelope. Like he was hosting a damn awards show. The liar has already won. That got a few gasps. A couple scoffs. Some people, like Becca, looked genuinely stunned. I wasn't. Because I already knew. Well, thought I knew. See, that morning, I'd gone through Mason's backpack. Yeah, I know. Don't at me. I had to know. And in one of the outside pockets, tucked beneath a rolled-up retreat schedule, I found a handwritten list, names, notes, quotes from challenges, tiny tallies. Mason was keeping score. So when Mark opened the envelope and said, the liar was someone who manipulated perception better than anyone else, I leaned back in my chair, smug and ready. And then he said. The liar was James. I nearly fell out of my seat. I turned to James, who was already smiling. That same subtle, creepy little smile he'd given me the night he read the note. Like he knew I was walking into a trap the whole time. You've all been playing a game of misdirection, Mark continued. But James? He didn't just lie. He made others look like the liars. Including the person we specifically asked him to target. He looked directly at me. That person was Chris. Yep. Me. James had been assigned to single me out. Gaslight me. Alienate me. Turn the group against me without ever directly accusing me. Because the real test wasn't finding the liar. It was seeing who would break first when they became the scapegoat. I wasn't the player. I was the test subject. I didn't say a word. Couldn't. My mouth was dry. My head was buzzing. All those side comments, the isolated votes, the notes under my door. James had orchestrated all of it. And the worst part? He won. I didn't even clap when James was declared the winner. Everyone else did, though, some half-hearted, some impressed, some probably just relieved it was over. He stood there grinning like a magician after the big reveal, soaking it up while Mark handed him a stupid golden compass trophy, seriously, and announced he'd receive a performance bonus. Meanwhile, I sat there like a glitch in the Matrix, trying to compute everything that had just happened. The notes under my door. The targeted votes. The whispers. The gaslighting. All orchestrated. All intentional. All part of the game. After the ceremony, I caught James outside the lodge, by the fire pit. He was alone, poking at the dying embers with a stick, like some kind of brooding campfire villain. You knew I'd think it was Mason, I said. He didn't look at me. Just smirked. You were supposed to, he said. Why me? Because you're observant. Analytical. You ask questions. You don't just go along with the group. He looked up. Mark told me you'd be the perfect Mark. Mark. Of course. That smug CEO actually chose me to be the punching bag for his little psychology experiment. I was the variable, the one meant to test groupthink, manipulation, social pressure. Don't take it personally, James added, like that was supposed to help. You actually played really well. Most people in your spot fold by day 2. You made it to the end. Oh good, I said. So I lost, but with style. He laughed. Exactly. I walked away before I said something I'd regret, or worse, shoved him into the fire pit and gave HR a real issue to write up. On the bus ride home, people were suddenly nice again. Asking how I felt, what I thought, if I was okay. As if realizing I'd been deliberately manipulated for 3 days straight was something a granola bar and polite small talk could fix. Jess from accounting even patted my arm and said, "It's just a game, right?" Right. Except it wasn't. Not really. Because now I don't just question my coworkers, I question everyone. Every motive. Every compliment. Every casual "how's your day going" in the break room. And Mark? He sent out a company-wide email Monday morning titled, "What We Learned from Truth and Trust 2025." With bullet points. One of them said, "Stress is the true window into character. And in pressure, authenticity emerges." I didn't reply. But I did update my resume that night.